SMCI is in a major point after being on this ascending run up, guys, getting out of this choppy consolidation, getting out of this tighter range, and we see a nice movement up to that 54.20. Our buyer is going to push it to that $66 level where we wicked off last time, guys, getting that big movement up and that retracement. Or seller is going to step in here, guys, pushing the stock downwards. Now, getting this analysis started on the weekly time frame, guys, we're looking at the bigger picture here. So we had that giant move up to that 122, like we've been talking about in our SMCI videos, where we found a little bit of momentum. Stock wasn't doing too much. Find that move up, getting that pennant type of range, blowout to that 122 bars in full control. No red weeks in this huge movement out from that, $29 level to that 122. Then we find a little bit of chop, find a little bit of resistance and chop, ascending support and long-term resistance, and we flush that level all the way to that $17 level. That's where we find some ascending support, right? Buyers pushed it up, sellers push it down in the descending type of range, find some resistance again, then we push right out of that, finding the ceiling of 66.44. That's that big movement we saw on the daily time frame. Get close to hitting that. That's really where we flush under after finding kind of a choppy range after hitting that high of 122. So we get under that level and we tap that level, trying to break out of this long-term resistance, and we flush, guys, back down, but we do hold that support at 29 and that ascending support here. And then we just kind of creep out. We don't see an extreme volatile move. I mean, we see that very nice green wide bar. Really sticks out like a sore thumb, changing the momentum and price, engulfing this entire range right here. So definitely a price momentum. When you see a bar like that, means we're usually shifting the trend. And then from that, guys, we kind of just see price bleed out of that resistance, that long-term resistance we had up, starting at that $122 point. So that all-time high there, guys. And we just kind of bleed out. We see 1, 2, 3, 4 green weeks out of the last 5 weeks. And on that red week, guys, just a little bit of indecision. We see a doji candle. No one was in true, real control. But then buyers keep on pushing it up, and we're currently trending at that 52.75. So the weekly stays pretty self-explanatory, right? We had that huge move up. We got in that huge sell-off movement, and then we've kind of chopped around between that rough 54 and that 17, building up on this ascending support and bleeding out of that long-term resistance. All right, guys, take you to the daily. So what does this mean for the current price action? What we do know is we had that huge move up and huge sell-off, and after hitting that floor, guys, buyers have really stepped in here. We saw a lot of back and forth as the buyers got that huge move, but the sellers pushed it all the way down, retracing that whole way, kind of double bottom there, guys, but we do see that buyers gain back that control. A little bit of a fight, a little bit of back and forth between that 29 and that 37, but buyers do end up getting that upper hand, guys, as we kind of see that shift in momentum. So we find this ascending support and we get that nice green wide bar. And when you see a bar like that, guys, it's very much a shift in momentum, shift in price action. See a bunch of chop here, not a lot of solid price action, but then you see that buyers really take that control, blowing us past that $37 level, which was the ceiling and that main resistance marker. And then we see a gap up, getting to the top of this longer term resistance. Once we get to that zone, we kind of just hold tightly and we keep on that ascending support. And then we just kind of bleed out of that long-term resistance. We do lose that ascending support, but we use that long-term resistance as support and we find that leg up. And then we start to trend really tight between that 46 and that 50. So you're seeing a very volatile consolidation range, a big move up, a tighter consolidation range, right, for a long time, big move up, and another tight consolidation range, the tightest consolidation that we've gotten for a while. I mean, this thing's pretty volatile. It is a very choppy stock, so this is pretty tight price action for SMCI. And so we chop here for roughly 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, but we do end up getting that leg up past that $50 level, and we find that resistance at 54. So I see an opportunity to step in. We try to get pushed down, but buyers have that advantage. You see that buying pressure. When you see a tall lower wick, that indicates a lot of buying pressure, so sellers tried pushing us down that much, but buyers bought it right back up. And buyers closed with that ultimate control. But then you see sellers try to push it down, remain pretty high up in this range between 50 and 54. So what you could expect here is possibly see a few more days of indecision, or we could just be seeing a flip from red to green with buyers testing that zone once again on the next trading day. As there's really not a lot holding us back within this range, guys. If we look at price history between 50 and 54, it's an exit pathway. It's either up or down. Right in this leg, we got a big movement up, got shot down. 2 days of price action here, 1 day of price action there. Looking back, once again, guys, really not any chop in this range. Keep on going back, no chop in this range. So for us to see a lot of chop in this range, for price to really get held up here, that definitely would be new price action. If we, rejected here, tried to test the floor, Just saw a little bit of volatile chop. That would be new price action. So the more likely case scenario is that we do end up getting that leg up, blowing past that zone and trying to get to those highs of ultimately that 66. I mean, there will be some resistance at that psychological $60 level, right around there, 62 to $60 level. But yeah, guys, I mean, we do definitely look prone for a test of that 54 and break of that. I believe that price continues to do what it is doing, right? We see these big legs up, getting into these chop phases, big leg up, chop phase. And this seems to be the start of that big leg up. So we get that nice move up. I think this move continues before we chop around either that 60-ish dollar level or so on. But I think we do find some chop within this range and then try to test that 66, which would be breaking that previous high that we had. Volume is starting to flush in a little bit. Once we get that movement up, we see a nice spike in volume. As long as volume can keep flushing in, guys, I definitely see room for the buyers. And as for the bears, you want to see a rejection of that 54, retracing back down to that $50 level, trying to get back into this chop range and start to pull back, as we definitely are in ascending movement for some time after getting out of this tighter consolidation zone. Buyers yank this thing up roughly, 32-ish%. So very nice movement after getting out of that long-term resistance, which is to be expected. Nice price action, guys. Definitely what you want to see textbook after getting out of a pretty important range. We see a lot of chop zones and resistances. We see two formations kind of double bottoming with chop formations. We see a very nice green bar up, indicating that buyers have gotten that control. We see another tight chop range around that area, kind of changing price action, not seeing a very volatile move down after hitting that resistance, as we've seen in the past, right? Quickly bring up the weekly. Every time we kind of hit that zone, we see pretty hard rejection. So definitely is new price action. And yeah, guys, definitely what you want to see. I think we do continue this movement up as long as the overall market is healthy. All right, guys, on the hourly chart, we see that price is holding up within this zone of 50 and 54. If we trace back here, we can see that ascending support, once we found that, very reactive. That's what you notice with SMCI. We get these volatile movements, but once we find support levels or resistance levels, we are very reactive. Find that support, bounce up. Find that resistance, bounce off immediately. Find that support, bounce off immediately. You get the picture, guys. Find that resistance, bounce off, gap down. Find that support, bounce off. So very, very reactive, showing that price is reacting to these support and resistance zones. But then you see that we have to react here, guys. We're meeting up with that resistance right there. And either someone has to win. The sellers push it back down or the buyers push it up. And we do see that very nice leg up. Huge green bar on the hourly. Continuation and gapping up, reaching that longer term resistance level. Come back down, find some new descending support. Get up, try to break through that level, cannot, so we're retesting it. Still a little bit of hard resistance at that level, so we get traced back down to the floor of this descending support. Move back up, right? We try to test that. We're moving in a descending fashion here, so sellers were kind of stepping in at that point. We do meet back up with this ascending support here, guys. You can see a little bit of touch points there, and we get that bounce up, come back down, and we just kind of ride that ascending support out. And that's where we break out of that long-term resistance. Sellers see a perfect opportunity to push us down. They try to push us back in that zone, but buyers step in when they need to step in. And then we kind of use that long-term resistance as support, getting around that area right here and trending along that resistance zone there. And once we kind of solidify that breakout, right, we come back down testing around that area, and we do see that move up. So we solidify that full breakout of that longer-term resistance. And that's where you see price really go pretty crazy here for the buyers, which makes sense as we've gotten over that very long-term resistance level, using it as support, testing it multiple times. So we do see a nice leg up, and like we saw on the daily, we consolidate between 46 and 50, kind of go in a descending range. We see a little bit of a descending profile, but once again, when buyers have to step in, they do, and we go all the way up, testing the highs of that 50, trying to break over it, get rejected, but we do hold up higher, and then we see that gap up and break. So that's where we're at right now, trending between 50 and 54. Nice price action, as when the sellers are trying to get in control, guys, buyers are winning these little fights, and these little fights are adding up. As we see, price has gone definitely in the buyer's favor as of recent times. The buyers are pretty much just winning these little fights over and over again. Price may try to push us back down, but I do think that we find buyers step in when they need to step in and retest that zone of 54.20, trying to break through it. We will be pretty much clear to that $60 level after breaking through this 54.20 and that 56. Definitely what you want to see for the buyers, and for the sellers, you want to see a little bit of a pullback, as we are pretty overextended in an ascending movement for some time after breaking out of that long-term resistance zone. And even before then, buyers have had that upper hand after finding this nice longer term ascending support. Overall, guys, we have a lot more room to run as SMCI has gotten out of a very long term major resistance. We're talking about a resistance level that's been there for over a year, guys. Resistance really got created in 2024. It's a very long term resistance, guys. It's over a year long. So breaking out of that really just solidifies that we do have a lot more room to run. And the monthly gives that nice perspective. For us to just stall out here and pull back, I think it's very unlikely. We've gotten out of that very long-term resistance. We've ridden this ascending support. Looking like we are ready to break out of that 54, which would lead us to pretty clear territory to that 66. And then onwards, guys, not a lot holding us back to those all-time highs. We'll see if buyers can continue. We'll see how the market performs if the overall market's pulling back. Anything can affect SMCI here, but I do think that we look very nice testing that 66 and continuing our way up. Now, let me know in the comments what you guys have for price predictions, both short term or long term. Now, if you guys enjoyed and want to see more SMCI content, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll continue to cover SMCI as well as other major tickers. I appreciate you guys all making it to the end of the video. It means a lot, guys. And as always, trade smart, and I will see you all in the next one.